Welcome to Cohesive Friendship Unit. My name's Chris. I'm here with Brian,
What's going on?
Jake,
Hey guys.
and Jeremy.
Hey, what's up?
I guess we got a little bit of bad news this round of Cohesive Friendship Unit. Our Game of the Year 2019, our collective cohesive Game of the Year, if you will, 2019, Risk of Rain 2 was set to be hitting 1.0 in the very near future. That has been delayed for some reasons that we're going to be talking about in this. Talk about how we feel about the delay, what's coming in the delay, what we wish they would also maybe add as part of the delay. But before we get into all of that, we do a lot of Risk of Rain content, guys, so maybe consider subscribing. We'll definitely be having 1.0 content for sure, but we have plenty of other legacy Risk of Rain content for you to check out. If you like this video, please throw us a like, and let us know down below what you want added for 1.0 Risk of Rain 2, because the devs, they watch all our videos, guys. They're reading they're reading it all. All right. So Risk of Rain 2 is delayed. Let's just get that out of the way. How do we feel about that? 1.0 is now coming in August.
I don't think it's gonna.
Sad.
Yeah, I mean, like everyone's upset, but like
We're all
you
torn
get
up.
it.
I will say
know-
the game is so good already that I'm not that hurt because, I mean, it's gonna come when it comes. I have full faith in that, and like it's so good now that I'm still enjoying it. So
Well, and that's kind of the thing that I think other publishers should kind of take notice of. If you're, I always kind of thought the targets they had set for their release dates and stuff like that was really ambitious, and sometimes you miss your targets. But if you're making good progress towards that and you're listening to your community, I don't think people are really going to care how delayed 1.0 is, because I think their community knows that they're working on it as hard as they can, and they'll get it out when they get it out.
What Minamoto say? A bad game's bad forever? Or no, delayed game can be good. I don't know. Minamoto, there's some stupid like memed out quote about him. About how delays can be good, but they suck that you have to wait.
Well, but I mean, we've all kicked around the unprecedented times, but think about how that must work with a company of a few people.
Yeah, and we have also all played the game for 200 hours. It's not like we're...
Right.
Like, yeah.
Well, and I think they've really earned their fan base by showing that they're dedicated to the development of the game and listening. There's been a lot of every update, there's a lot of little quality of life things that are like, oh, this is really nice, I'm glad they put this in. And they deserve the fan base they've gotten, and I don't think that fan base is really going to care if it's pushed back a couple of months because of stuff that was completely out of their control.
So let's talk about some of this. Yeah, go ahead, Jake.
It was pushed back to add more features, which makes it much easier to accept. Like in their release, their tweet, their patch notes, they said that fortunately for them, like they almost work from home because COVID didn't slow them down at all. But they're adding specifically features that they asked about in a recent tweet, which is very cool that they did that. But also, like you're saying, like we're pushing this back so the game can be better, which makes it a lot easier to swallow.
Yeah, let's talk about the primary thing that they kind of highlighted in their blog post. It's basically like a server browser. It's called server browser. So, yeah, there. I guess the addition of artifacts made quick play kind of a mess, and we don't really experience the four of us because there's four of us. We're a cohesive friendship unit, right? Like we don't need to go on quick play. We're perfect. So we don't really experience like the woes of quick play, but it makes sense. They added these 16 artifacts. You could wind up in a server with God knows what, like you don't really know what you're getting into in any given time. And I think this is a reasonable thing to add that was probably unforeseen to an extent.
And the quick play changes, they said, in part are due to how successful the game has been. They kind of have like a bare bones multiplayer right now, which I've played a little bit, and it definitely bare bones, and there's really, like, you get who you get, and that's about it. But they've had so much success and so many people have bought the game that they really need to update that. And luckily they are doing that for 1.0.
They basically said, like, in the beginning, it was just helping. We wanted people to be able to find a game. Now we have enough people playing that we want people to be able to find the right game. And, like, as Jake just said, like, it's a testament to their success that they have this unforeseen kind of, slight issue that came up.
That's how you know you made it.
Hell yeah.
So, before we talk about, because they are going to be taking some fan feedback, I think that's like the last thing that we'll talk about, because that could literally go on forever. But before we get into that, they mentioned 1.0 and how it was supposed to launch fairly soon. Do we wish that we still got an update that was a quote, that had everything except this server browser, or like, I don't know, like, how do you feel about that? Because I guess, like, my perception of, let's just take another random early access game, PUBG, was they kind of just, like, they're like, yeah, they committed to going to 1.0 by a certain day, or date, or time of year, and they did, regardless of the state of the game. It seems like these guys are taking a very different approach, where 1.0 is 1.0, right? Like, you're not going to get your final survivor, final stage, final boss. Right now, you're going to get the full 1.0 update at 1.0. Like, do we wish that we had, like, an update now? Like, do we not care? I'm just feeling it out.
I think that you can't go to you can't call it 1.0 if it's still missing this, like, basically matchmaking, server browser that apparently a lot of people are asking for. So you can't be absent that feature and call it 1.0, but you can't then, like, release all that other really important content first and be like, this is still early access, and then the only thing that changes for 1.0 is, like, and now we have matchmaking, this is the official game. I think that it's just, kind of bad marketing.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's effectively all it is at this point.
Yeah.
The 1.0, like, it's not like you're getting a CD in a box. It's a good like milestone to reach, to say, like, yeah, this is finished. And I get that it's like a big thing, but there's no reason to really draw a line in the sand. Like, PUBG, 0 fucks were given about that game. And you knew it was a cash grab from the beginning, but it's like, okay, so we're gonna make a game. We don't care what it is, as long as people play it. We don't care, like, what's going on with it. And that was really apparent.
I think when these guys, like, say that it's done, they want to actually present a finished product, and I think that for that reason it makes sense to wait to just do it together.
Yeah, it'll come out when it comes out.
Yeah. All right. Well, then let's move into the more speculative stuff. So they did say that they are taking into account some fan feedback, some extra ideas. They got their eyes out. They're reading what the community's saying, and the community has a lot to say. Jake kind of compiled a brief list of some of the hot things that were on the Twitter responses, but then we did this in our review of the Artifacts update, but I guess we might as well revisit it and kind of give some of our own ideas. But should we just run through some of these real quick, Jake?
Sure. So from reading through the Twitter, there's some pretty common ones that are getting requested. I think the biggest one that we all agree with is Sprint. I was talking about this a bit before we went on air, so to speak, and not Sprint being interrupted by your abilities is a pain in the ass. Tons of people are asking, like, can I just sprint through my abilities or be able to toggle it all the time or whatever?
But that's a Huntress specific thing. That hurts. That's like
why
Huntress can left click while sprinting. She's the only one.
But I think Jake's point is, like, with any of the characters, once you use the special, it defaults back to walking, and then you have to... It's not like... I don't even necessarily think it's a matter of being able to attack while you sprint. It's that, like, sure, if you want to slow down during the attack, but then to have to every single time you attack switch back to sprinting afterwards, just do that automatically. Just toggle sprint to on. Why the fuck is there even a walk option?
I was gonna say maybe sprint should be default, and when you hit the button, it goes to walk.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially the thing I noticed is that it's not consistent between characters. I remember one of the early updates, this was probably the second update drop they did, they actually changed Huntress to, after you teleport, you continue sprinting if you were sprinting before. So that's not consistent for all the characters. For example, the robot, once he uses his shift, he doesn't sprint afterwards if you were sprinting
well, he's
before.
tired.
So it would be nice if it was consistent, but I think that one's probably a pretty easy one. The other, we talk about this all the time, Magma Worm, he sucks. He's not fun. He needs to get updated. We believe we mentioned this one in our review, but lunar items are pretty hit or miss, or rather they're pretty miss all the time except for one or two. Chris' specific suggestion was a seed browser or some way to replace seeds.
Let's go back. We'll go back to our ideas. I do want to talk. I think Magma Worm specifically is less a problem with the worm itself and more a problem with the way it has its like. I think the worm is fine.
AI.
Yeah, the AI. Like we were talking about this like off the show or whatever. If you buy those stationary turrets, your Magma Worm might just go off and start like fighting those, and that will like just ruin your run. I think it just like I'm personally fine with like the speed of it and like what it does. I don't know if you guys disagree or not, but like if it stayed in the bubble, I would be much more okay with it.
Well, if you're a melee character, which half the characters right now are melee, you can't really fight Magma Worm without killing yourself.
I think the Grove Tender needs to be. It's a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll say
The
boss
only-
instability.
The only character that can really go up against the Magma Worm is Acrid. I would say. Like, he has a
Right.
pretty easy time with them, but he's broken as fuck. Like, not that that's a bad thing, but he's way OP. And I can see them nerfing them a little bit. Or at least just improve the AI. Because it's very frustrating when they're just all over the place. And sometimes it just happens.
Yeah. And I think the Magma Worm issue cuts a little deep because the very first update, actually it wasn't even an update, it was the very first like dev thoughts they did after the release of the game on Steam. They said, guys, we hear you, Magma Worm is not fun. And that's been a meme because it's still not fun. They haven't changed it at all, unfortunately. And
They made it slower.
Yeah, I think they
did
slightly
make it
tweaked it.
slower, but he's still not fun. He's just slower and not fun.
My issue
I think
is
we're pretty much stuck with him, sadly.
yeah, it's not even that he's not fun to me. He just literally kills runs. Like you will lose him or her. I don't know how Magma Swarm
What
identifies.
identifies.
Yeah, but you'll lose it, and then you'll like that'll just be it. Or you'll chase it down, and it'll just take you so long to clear the level because of that.
Yeah. And that kind of segues into another one, which I think might be a spicy request of all the ones that I wrote down. But one that I saw pretty commonly on the Twitter was that runs are getting pretty long really fast. And we were kind of talking about this before we started. And back a few updates ago, I think our runs pretty consistently went about 30 minutes before we finished. And now they definitely take upwards of an hour every single time.
It's those damn. It's that what's it called? It's that hidden realm. That's
Yeah.
what sucks up all the time.
It is the Hidden Realms, but that's the easiest way to win right now. The most consistent way to get through the game. And if that is what you have to do, that means the runs are now 50 minutes to get through. So regardless of what the solution for winning the game is, it's still much longer. And 50 minutes is a long time.
I think in the beginning, when that hidden realm had time moving at the exact same rate, there was little incentive to go in there. But now that time slows down to nothing, like when you go into that hidden realm with where you get Acrid, now that time isn't moving, there's literally no reason to not go and go as long as you can.
Right.
Which means you're spending like 20 minutes. Do it like every time you play Risk of Rain 2. You should go in there and spend, like 15, 20 minutes in that one level doing that one thing. And I think that's like what's killing momentum for me personally in the game.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't necessarily think it kills the momentum, because I do think it's an enjoyable part of the game that kind of challenges the player to behave a little differently. Like there's a slightly different amount of strategy involved, or at least a different strategy. But like there has to be something on the other side. We were kind of talking about before we started recording. Like it's just that, as Jake said, it becomes so long. Like I don't know what the right answer is, but 50 minutes is quite a while for.
They should cut it in half, or they should make time move at half the speed, or I don't know, like.
Or add a consistent amount, like every time you go, or when you go, it adds 10 minutes to your run.
Or give like a risk to doing it. Like I don't think you should go do it every single time. I think that's part of what adds the monotony.
Yeah, I think it's kind of it's almost like not an exploit, but it's not what was meant to happen with that mode. And even if you add 10 minutes to the run, it doesn't change the fact that you spent a real life hour, regardless of what the timer says, So I don't know. I could, maybe you go once and that's it, or something, but it doesn't really seem balanced right now.
Maybe if you complete it like skips a level or something.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like it just cuts a level out.
Yeah.
And maybe including like with the difficulty spike, or maybe I think Brian had made a suggestion about like if you complete the level more quickly, not just because right now it's based on you want to finish quickly because you don't want enemies to progressively become more challenging and spawn in more and et cetera, but maybe there's a more of a positive incentive as well to just help you like speed through. I don't know.
Or it's just like not consistent, like it's not always an option.
Yeah.
Like Sky Meadows is always an option, but it's not always a good idea. Whereas something like, I actually don't know his real name. We always call him Papa, but the big gold guy, like he's not always available. But when you get him, it's worth the risk to go to the Golden Realm and try and get him. So like if this was an option sometimes, but not all the time, I feel like that'd be better.
Yeah.
Well, right. One more thing I want to highlight before, I think the lunar items are pretty self-explanatory, but one of the things that was very often mentioned, and I know we've experienced this almost every time we play, is when you die in multiplayer, you're pretty much you're put behind and you can never recover. And there really should be a way to be able to recover from dying early on in a game that allows you to catch up.
Well, Brian always has had the idea of trading items, dropping items, swapping items.
Ooh. Well, I think that one of the things that's kind of going on is they haven't really defined whether this is a game that they intend you to play single player versus multiplayer. Like, and they're kind of moving more towards the single player thing where if you die, that's it. You're starting over. So, like, you don't need to consider what happens when you die, because if you die, you start over. But it's really kind of more fun to play with a group of people. And I think that's where more of the potential of the game lies. And if you want to go that direction, you have to kind of think that way, like in a game where it's a teamwork-based game, right? The ability to drop items is just like, it's in there. Why wouldn't it be in there? Because you got to be able to help your team out. But with this, it's like it's a single-player game, but it's got a really great multiplayer mode that, they could commit a little bit more to it being a multiplayer game, I think.
Yeah. Well, that kind of segues into things that we want. What are some things that we want? I don't know if we have any new stuff. I have two key things that I want. That I guess I'll start with. So yeah, I really want seeds. I like almost every roguelike that I've played has had a seed input where you can either while you're playing the run, and if it's a really cool run, you can like copy the seed and share it online and be like, hey, this is a really cool run. Like a lot of cool stuff happens. These cool items spawn. And the flip side to that would be you could also stage something more formal or more competitive. You could do like speed running with your friends. And what kind of, and they already do that in Prismatic Trials. Prismatic Trials, they give everyone the same seed to explore and try to get the best times with. So it seems like the feature is realistically pseudo implemented. The other thing I would personally really like is multiplayer Prismatic Trials, because I think Prismatic Trials in general are a fun, bite-sized Risk of Rain. You only go through 2 levels. And it would be really cool to see how 4 people crack those 2 levels open. Maybe they'd make it like 3 levels with 4 people, but I don't know. Those are my 2 things that I'd really like.
That could also help kind of answer our comment that the runs are becoming so long, because as you said, if this is a bit of a more of a bite-sized experience, that could provide something that's like, hey, I don't have an hour and 15 minutes, but I've got a half an hour. Do you want to do a prismatic run? See what I mean? So just another way to approach the multiplayer. I think that's a great point.
Yeah, and it would be cool if they just flesh out the Prismatic Trials idea a little more. Because even once you play Prismatic Trials, the first thing they say is like, this is just, there's no reason to do this. It's just, we just put it in and that's like, they just started it. It would be nice if they kind of finished out the idea, because I think that's really what's going to keep the game going, is something competitive like that keeps things fresh.
On that note, something like unlockable skins. I know that's kind of like territory, but like some sort of reward for like doing really well in Prismatic
200 hours in the game, like.
Some sort of unlockables would be cool. Also, like, where the fuck are my Steam achievements?
Bruh.
Where the absolute fuck are these achievements right now?
And where's the single-player campaign, guys?
And where's Master Chief, okay? He's on the box, but he's not in the game.
I heard he was going to be a DLC.
Well, he's the last character.
The fans are asking for him.
August.
All right, anything else from us, or are we ready to wait for August? Speaking of Chief, Cortana's gonna send us to sleep till August. All right, I think we're ready to wait till August. So while we're waiting, what should our viewers be doing right about now, Brian?
Waiting till August, I guess.
Finishing.
Well, if you've played Risk of Rain and you have any thoughts on the things that were said here in this video, go ahead and hammer those thoughts on down in the word box there. And we do make quite a few Risk of Rain videos here on this channel, so if you like Risk of Rain and you like this video, and you probably liked it if you watched it this far, so go ahead and click that subscribe button there so you'll get updated with all of the continuously cohesive friendship unit shit we're doing here on the Cohesive Friendship Unit channel. And smoke them if you got it, guys. That's all for me tonight, Chris.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Catch you guys next time.